starting our record, so we're here. So as mentioned before the break, we're going to get right into the baseball talks. There's a lot going off this winter, and we're excited for what's to come. So as we're stationed in New Rochelle, we're going to get straight into the New York talks and see what the New York teams are looking to do. A lot of people are skeptical about whether the Yankees are going to go out and sign some people and try to put some money out on the table, or if they're just going to work around with trades as they did last winter with Brian Cashman's strategy. It's what he likes to do, and Steinbrenner's not really trying to extend that payroll much. So he's going to try to work that trade system again this winter. And
right.
Do you think that's going to work out for them? I kind of think it will.
I'd like to think that it will, but unfortunately, we're at an era where you have to go out and you have to spend money for players, and if you want to win, that's what it's come down to.
Yeah.
So I think that they're going to probably test free agency a little more than the trade market.
Yeah.
That's just my suspicion. But it's a good free agent class. I mean, there's a lot of good bats out there, a lot of good arms that we need. So, I mean, I don't think Cashman can go wrong really either way.
Yeah, and a lot of people criticize Cashman for the decisions that he makes, but I'm going to go ahead and say that since they didn't make the playoffs the last 2 years, and last year he did a tremendous job bringing in some decent players that could work around the diamond and stuff. I think he did a really good job last year, and I think it's right for the team to trust him again in his decision making this time around.
I agree.
So they've got an article in the Post this morning by this guy Ken Davidoff talking about how Brian Cashman just straight up told the press that he was not going to be pursuing Daniel Murphy at all.
Right.
And I kind of think that's okay for us not to pursue
Murphy.
Because we don't need him as a second baseman. He's not that good at second base.
Right.
Maybe he could play third, but maybe we could get a better name.
Right.
And then I read another article that said that Zobrist isn't planning on leaving Kansas City just because he's familiar with the Midwest.
Right. I think those all they all make sense because really in the Yankees situation it's. As far as David Murphy, they kind of have Daniel Murphy, excuse me. They kind of have a past history of going after players that are really streaky, and then they come to the Yankees, and everybody wonders why they don't produce. And I think Murphy could be a situation like that. They like him because he's a lefty, he's got the short porch. But I don't know if he's that good of a fit.
Yeah,
I think Zobrist is, but
because at second base, the Yankees are going to have Dustin Ackley and Rob Refsnyder,
and they'll probably platoon them.
No need to go out for a bigger name because they're just going to hide the talent. They're going to squash the talent that's coming out of these young guys.
They have to try to develop the talent a little bit more. Like the Refsnyders. The team. You look at the teams that have succeeded the last few years: Kansas City, San Fran. Those are teams that really develop their young talent. Right.
Really incredible, and the Yankees have had good players come up through their farm system. But what we
trade them away for guys in their prime because we want to win now, and then it doesn't work out.
And it doesn't work out, and it's starting to hurt the team more.
Right.
To a point whereas they're starting to realize, well, if it's working for everybody else, why don't we go ahead and try to keep our guys and bring them up and see how well that's going to work out for us? And it's what they should be doing because if the guy's not going to work out for the team, at least give him a shot. At least bring him up, see if he likes it. Maybe test him out for 50 games or 25 games in the season.
Yep.
You got to start bringing the guys up and get them in. On a team like the Yankees, especially because they're such an older team,
right?
And a lot of these guys are hurt all the time, so you can't just go out and say, "Oh, we'll give this guy $15 million, come play for us for the rest of the season." Nah,
right.
You got to bring the guys up.
I think
the experience that they need.
I think it's a tough situation for the Yankees because as far as Cashman is concerned, he knows how judgmental Yankee fans are, how they want to win now, and that. All right, you have Refsnyder, you have Aaron Judge, two of their top prospects. And they're high on Refsnyder, and I think a lot of fans are too. So I think this is the time, if you have the fans on your side for something like this, you really need to take advantage of that and give him the playtime he needs because he could be. I don't know if he's going to be a star, but he's at least going to be consistent enough, I think, to be the everyday second baseman.
Yeah, and also in terms of signing another player. We don't really know yet how much money Brian Cashman has to work with.
Right.
We don't know what the leeway is there. We don't know if he can go out for such a big name at any position, not just second base or third base. But I think they're set at second base. I don't think they need to go out and find.
I don't think so either.
That either.
I don't even think we need another outfielder. I think if you have Gardner, you have Ellsbury, and obviously with an aging Beltran, but you have Aaron Judge. I think that's somebody that really needs to be considered to be brought up this year because he looked MLB ready. At least almost MLB ready last year, so he might be ready to take that next step.
Yeah, and it's tough for Murphy Because I don't think he's gonna stick around in New York.
Nope, I don't think so either.
I don't think the Mets are gonna be able to afford him because they gave him that qualifying offer, or he has
15 or 0.8, something like that.
15.8 million, and he has to decide by Friday.
Right.
And I don't think
he's not. He's not gonna take it. No, he'll test free agency, and someone's gonna give him an offer. Probably even equal to that. I think that he just wanted to leave New York.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Because
he's really not worth $15 million a year.
He's gonna cash out. He's gonna get a lot more money. Maybe he'll go out west.
I think that's a possibility. I think he's gonna stay in the National League also.
And he might just end up in San Francisco.
I think he could be more of an American League tailored player, to be honest, because his defense isn't all. He's definitely better at third than he is at second.
Yeah.
But I think he can be more of a DH type. That's kind of why the Yankees were looking at him in that sense.
But he's only 30.
He's only 30.
He doesn't want to do that.
Yeah. So if you do that now, you start you're essentially ending your career. Sooner than you
There's
like.
There's no need for that because he's a healthy player and he hasn't been
no real injuries really.
Distracted really.
Right.
Yeah. So there's no need for him to be doing that. I think he could go and help out Team Out West. I don't think the Dodgers are going to pay him off.
No,
they're
tied up. They're tied up
their
with
payroll.
Right.
They're not going to be able to afford him. Be interesting to see where he does end up going. I'd like to see where David Price is going to end up.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about David Price. I mean,
honestly,
they say that he could fit everywhere, but where do you see that he'll fit the best?
Well, I've read this morning that he's favoring the National League, and he wants to play in the National League all of a sudden.
A lot of
pitchers recently have been wanting to make that jump from the American League to the National League. You don't really see a pitcher going from the
opposite
NL
way.
to the AL.
That's why Cueto struggled a lot.
Yeah.
That's why I think he struggled a lot.
Definitely. And I don't know why it is that it's easier for them to pitch in the National League.
I think it's just, you're facing a pitcher instead of a DH. And it's almost a guaranteed out every time they get up there. You could pitch around the 8 guy. You could walk him to bring up the pitcher. So I think just scenarios like that just make it easier.
I guess,
right?
For them. It benefits them a little more. They have more of an advantage against opponents. Probably put up better stats.
Right.
But for someone like David Price, that doesn't really matter because you're going to be good.
Yeah,
exactly. You end
exactly.
Up. And despite his postseason numbers, I think he's going to want to play for Joe Madden again.
I think so.
A lot of people are favoring that. And I don't see why anybody would be opposed to that idea just because they had such a good relationship in Tampa Bay.
Right. I mean, I think if he does go to the Cubs, I mean, you got to be, it's got to be close to penciling them in.
Yeah.
For at least the NLCS, I think.
Yeah. And with Arrieta still there.
Lester.
A lot of young guys. Lester, look at that. That's 3 straight pitchers right there. They have more than enough talent to make it back to the championship series again next year. So it'd be interesting to see if he ends up there, because I'd like to see that. I'd like to see
if he can't be a Yankee, I'd like to see him in as a Cubby then.
Yeah. And what do you think about the trade talks or trade rumors that have been regarding Brett Gardner? A lot of people think that the Yankees are going to ship him off, him and Miller.
I mean, I'm a huge Brett Gardner fan. And he had a good year again. He's a homegrown player. I don't really see any need to get rid of him. I don't know what they're going to try to upgrade by getting rid of him.
Yeah.
Miller, I like Miller too. See, there's no need to get rid of him. You just signed him to a 4-year, $36 million deal. He still has 3 years left on his contract. He's only played 1 year with the team. I just don't see any need for them to get rid of either of those 2 players.
Yeah.
I know they need to upgrade probably in the bullpen a little bit. In middle relief, they need another starter. Maybe they need another starter. I mean, you have Severino coming back. You have Tanaka. You have Nova. You have Pineda. Possibly CC. Maybe in the bullpen.
They could probably turn CC into a Bartolo type player.
Yeah,
have him start for some of the season and then have him transition to bullpen.
I agree.
I don't see why that wouldn't work. I think CC would be open to something like that.
And you have Eovaldi still. And you have
Eovaldi, who has been good for us.
So
it'd be interesting to see what the Yankees do with their pitching this year, but I think they've got the potential to put together another good team that could probably get 80-something wins next year, hopefully.
Right,
and we'll see where that takes them. And the Mets aren't too far behind.
Yeah, the Mets could be right back where they were.
And they've honestly, if the Mets make the World Series again next year, I wouldn't be
surprised either. I think that they have, they're not losing too much from their team. They're still a fairly young team.
Yeah.
It's really going to come down to Terry Collins, I think. I don't know if Terry Collins is the best manager for that team, but
Yeah, and they gave him a 2-year deal. wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yep.
So they're working on him. They want him to be their guy, and I respect them for being loyal to their head coach. So we'll see how that turns out for them. So when we come back, we're gonna talk about more free agents. What do we think about Cespedes? We haven't brought him up. So when we get back, we're going to talk about Cespedes. We're going to talk about a couple other players that have the spotlight on them and where they're going to end up. So thank you guys for tuning in. This is WICR. You're not going to want to miss what's coming next.
Broadcasting from the basement of La Penta, this is WICR.